He was the perfect boyfriend, so sweet and caring, until I found out about his secret life with her. The truth shattered me. Stay tuned for the full story, and don't forget to subscribe for more shocking moments. When I first met Derek, it was like something out of a movie. He was charming, funny, and so easy to talk to. He made me feel like I was the only person in the world who mattered. Our first date felt like magic. We talked for hours about everything, from childhood memories to future dreams. He listened to me like no one ever had, and I couldn't help but feel like I had finally found someone who understood me in ways I never thought possible. In the early stages of our relationship, Derek seemed to check every box. He was thoughtful, always surprising me with little acts of kindness, flowers for no reason, taking care of me when I was sick, and always making time to see me no matter how busy his day was. I was absolutely smitten. Every time we spent time together, it felt like a dream. He always made me feel special, and I genuinely believed he was the one I had been waiting for. Our connection seemed perfect. For a few months, everything seemed idyllic. We went on spontaneous trips, shared our favorite music, and spent nights talking about our hopes and fears. Derek was always there for me. He was my support system, my confidant, and the person I was falling in love with. We had made plans to move in together, and it felt like our relationship was heading in the direction of a lifelong commitment. But then things started to change. At first, it was subtle, little things that I brushed off. He would be late for our dates, cancel plans last minute, or seem distant when we were together. I told myself it was just stress from work or life in general. After all, we were both busy with our careers and had our own lives to manage. But the small changes began to add up. One evening, after a week of him being unusually distant, I decided to surprise him with dinner. I thought it would be the perfect way to reconnect. I showed up at his apartment, excited to spend time together, only to find that he wasn't home. I waited for over an hour thinking maybe he was caught in traffic, but when he finally called me, his voice was strained. "I'm sorry, babe. I'm still at work. I know I said I'd be home, but I'm stuck on a project," he said, his words coming out rushed. I tried to stay calm, but something didn't feel right. I had never known him to cancel plans without at least offering a solution. And this wasn't the first time he had done something like this recently. The doubt started creeping into my mind. Was I overthinking things? Or was there something else going on? The next few days felt like a blur. Derek's excuses became more frequent, and his attention to me seemed to fade. I began to notice how he would sometimes avoid my texts or take longer to reply. The relationship that had once felt so easy was suddenly filled with uncertainty. I didn't want to admit it, but I started to feel like he was pulling away from me. One night, after another late cancellation, I decided to follow my instincts. I had to find out what was really going on. I wasn't going to sit around waiting for him to explain himself anymore. I decided to do something I had never done before. I checked his phone. I know it wasn't the most trustful thing to do, but at that point, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. What I found wasn't just a hint of suspicion, it was the truth. I scrolled through a series of messages between Derek and someone I didn't know. The messages were flirtatious and intimate, filled with promises to meet up and plans to see each other. My heart sank as I realized that Derek had been seeing someone else while he was with me. The betrayal was clear in those messages. He had been lying to me the entire time. I sat there in complete shock, unable to breathe, my mind racing with questions I couldn't answer. How long had this been going on? Was it just a fling? Or was he really in a relationship with this other woman? And most importantly, why did he feel the need to lie to me? The person I thought I was building a future with had been deceiving me behind my back. The trust I had given him was shattered in an instant. I didn't know what to do next. Part of me wanted to confront him right away, to demand answers. to make him feel the same pain I was feeling. But another part of me was too afraid, afraid of the truth that might come pouring out, afraid of what I might hear. I sat there, holding his phone in my hands, staring at the evidence of his secret life. For the first time in months, I felt like I was no longer living in a dream. The man I had thought was perfect, the man I had been falling in love with, had a secret life, a life I had never been a part of, and I didn't know if I was ready to face that truth. I sat there, frozen, staring at Derek's phone. The weight of the situation slowly began to sink in, and I could feel my chest tightening with each passing second. The messages were clear. He had been seeing another woman behind my back, lying about his whereabouts and pretending everything was fine when, in reality, he had another life that I knew nothing about. The betrayal cut deeper than I had ever imagined. This wasn't just about infidelity. It was the lies, the deception, and the complete disregard for the trust we had built. I took a deep breath, trying to collect myself. I needed answers, but I wasn't sure if I was ready for what those answers might be. I had always prided myself on being strong, on handling difficult situations with grace. But this was different. This was personal. This was the man I thought I would spend my life with. And now everything had been shattered by the woman whose name I didn't even recognize. As I sat there, my mind raced with a million questions. Who was she? When did it start? Was I just another option for him? Someone he could string along while he juggled his secret life? I felt like everything I had known was a lie. My thoughts were a jumble of emotions: hurt, anger, confusion, and a deep sense of betrayal that I couldn't even begin to process. I couldn't sit there forever, though. I knew I had to face him. I couldn't keep letting this consume me. I needed to confront Derek, to demand the truth from him. But as I stood up and walked toward the door, my legs shaky and my heart pounding, a part of me hesitated. What would I even say? How could I even look at him after everything I had just discovered? I had so many emotions swirling inside me, but I knew I couldn't bottle them up any longer. I needed to take control of the situation, no matter how hard it would be. I decided to call him. I wasn't sure if he would answer, but I had to try. His phone rang a few times before he picked up, and I could hear the surprise in his voice when he said, "Hey babe, what's up?" "Where are you, Derek?" I asked, my voice calm but trembling beneath the surface. "I'm just finishing up some work," he replied, sounding casual, as if nothing was wrong. "I'll be home soon." "No, you won't," I said firmly, my voice now steady with the resolve that had built up inside me. "I need you to come home right now. We need to talk." There was a pause on the other end, and I could almost hear him processing my words. "What's going on?" he asked cautiously. "I know everything, Derek," I said, my voice shaking now with a mix of anger and hurt. "I know about her. I know about your secret life." The silence that followed felt suffocating. He didn't say anything for what felt like an eternity. I knew he was trying to find the right words, but there was nothing he could say that would make this right. There was no excuse he could give that would justify his actions. "I'm sorry," he finally said, his voice quiet, almost as if he was ashamed. "I didn't mean for you to find out this way. I never wanted to hurt you." "Then why did you do it, Derek?" I demanded, my voice rising. "Why did you lie to me? Why did you lead me to believe everything was fine when you were seeing someone else? You promised me we were building a future together. You made me believe in us." He sighed deeply. "I don't have an excuse for what I did," he said. "I don't even know why it happened. It started off as something innocent, but it grew into something I couldn't stop. I was selfish, and I should have been honest with you. I should have ended things before it went this far." His words felt like hollow apologies. I had heard them all before in other situations, and they never seemed to be enough. He was sorry, but that didn't change the fact that he had broken my heart. It didn't change the fact that he had betrayed my trust in the worst way possible. I don't want your apology, Derek, I said, my voice now firm. You can't just say sorry and expect me to forget everything. You've hurt me in a way that I don't think I can ever come back from. I don't know how I can trust you again after everything you've done. There was another long pause. I could tell that he was struggling, but I had reached my breaking point. I had given him so many chances to be honest with me, and he had thrown them all away. He had made his choice, and I had to make mine. I don't think I can be with you anymore, I said quietly, the weight of my decision settling in. I don't think I can keep pretending everything is okay. The person I thought you were is gone, and I can't keep holding on to a relationship that's built on lies. His voice cracked when he spoke again. Please, Grace, don't say that. I love you. I made a mistake, and I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I want to fix this. I don't want to lose you. I think you already have, I said softly, feeling a pang of sadness in my chest. I think you lost me the moment you started lying to me. I can't fix what's broken. I hung up the phone, feeling a strange sense of finality wash over me. It was over. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even sad. I was just done. I had given Derek everything, and he had broken me. But in that moment, I realized that I wasn't broken. I had the strength to walk away from something that wasn't serving me anymore. And that was the first step toward healing. The days that followed felt like a blur. I was living in a world that no longer made sense. Every corner of my apartment, every object I touched reminded me of what I had lost. Derek had been such an integral part of my life, and now he was a stranger to me. The man I thought I knew was gone, replaced by someone who had betrayed me in the worst possible way. I was left questioning everything. Was any of it real? Was the love I had for him just a fantasy? Or had I truly been living with someone who didn't respect me enough to be honest? But even with all the hurt and confusion, there was a part of me that knew I had made the right decision. Walking away from Derek wasn't easy, but deep down, I knew that I deserved better. I deserved someone who would value me, who would never betray my trust, who would never lie to my face. I had spent so much time trying to make it work, trying to fix something that was already broken. But now I had to focus on healing. I had to focus on myself. I spent a lot of time in the following weeks reflecting. At first, it was painful, like ripping open a wound that was just starting to heal. I'd sit in silence, my mind racing with memories of the times we shared, the promises he had made. It felt like every moment we spent together had been a lie. But slowly, with each passing day, I started to make peace with it. I realized that while Derek had been dishonest, I wasn't the one who had failed. I hadn't done anything wrong. I had loved him with all my heart, and I had trusted him completely. That was my only mistake, trusting the wrong person. I decided that it was time to reclaim my life. I started doing things that made me feel whole again, things I had neglected while I was consumed by the relationship. I picked up old hobbies, things I used to love but had set aside. Photography had always been an escape for me, so I spent hours walking through the city, capturing moments that caught my eye. It was therapeutic. With each click of the camera, I felt like I was taking back a piece of myself that I had lost. Every photo was a reminder that life was still beautiful, even after the pain. I also started working out again. I'd neglected my health for months, but now it felt like something I needed to do for myself. Running became my new ritual. It wasn't just about the physical exercise, it was about clearing my mind, pushing through the discomfort, and reclaiming my own strength. I started to feel stronger both physically and emotionally. Every run made me realize how resilient I was. I didn't need anyone to tell me that I could get through this. I had proven it to myself, one step at a time. Through all this, I reconnected with friends who had always supported me but whom I had distanced myself from during the relationship. They were there when I needed them the most, offering me encouragement and a listening ear. I spent more time with them, rediscovered old friendships, and made new memories that didn't involve Derek. I had allowed myself to be consumed by him for so long, but now I was rediscovering who I was outside of our relationship. I was no longer just Derek's girlfriend. I was Grace again. One evening, after spending a day with my closest friends, I received a message from Derek. My heart skipped a beat when I saw his name on my phone screen. I hadn't heard from him in weeks, and I wasn't sure I was ready to hear what he had to say. But part of me wanted to know if he had changed, if he had learned from his mistakes. I opened the message. It was short, just a few words. "I'm sorry, I miss you. Can we talk?" I felt my stomach twist, but I didn't respond right away. I wasn't sure what to say, or if I even wanted to hear what he had to say. I had spent so long moving forward, trying to heal, and I wasn't sure I was ready to go back to that place of hurt. But at the same time, I knew that I couldn't keep running from this. I needed to face it, to truly let go. Maybe Derek's apology was genuine. Maybe he was truly sorry for what he did. But the truth was, it didn't matter anymore. His actions had already shown me who he really was. He had chosen someone else over me, and no apology could undo that. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the decision settle over me. I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but I had come too far to go back now. I wasn't going to let him back into my life. I had learned my worth, and I knew that I didn't need someone who could betray me like that. I deleted the message and decided that I would never look back. It wasn't about bitterness or anger. It was about my own healing, my own growth. I wasn't going to let the past define me any longer. The next few days passed quietly. I didn't hear from Derek again, and I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I had made the right decision. I was finally free. Free from the pain, free from the lies, and free to create the life I deserved. As the weeks passed, I found myself in a completely different place, one of growth, strength, and newfound independence. The raw, intense pain from the betrayal had started to subside, replaced by a quiet but steady confidence. I had reclaimed control over my own life, and with that, I discovered an entirely new version of myself, a version I had almost forgotten existed. I spent more time nurturing the relationships that truly mattered: my family, my friends, and most importantly, myself. I'd lost sight of who I was during the relationship with Derek, consumed by the need to make it work, to fix things that weren't even mine to fix. Now, I was rediscovering the joys of my own company. I went on solo trips to places I had always wanted to visit but never had the chance to. I explored museums, took up new hobbies, and found solace in doing things that made me feel alive and connected to the world around me. But the most important lesson I learned during this time was the power of self-love. I had always been someone who gave so much of myself to others: my time, my energy, my heart, without asking for anything in return. And while there's nothing wrong with being generous, I had neglected my own needs. I had forgotten how to be kind to myself, how to validate my worth without needing someone else to do it for me. It wasn't until I started to practice self-love that I truly began to heal. I stopped being so hard on myself, stopped blaming myself for what had happened with Derek. I stopped wondering what I could have done differently. The truth was, I hadn't done anything wrong. I had loved deeply, trusted completely, and believed in us. But Derek's actions were a reflection of his own choices, not mine. I had to remind myself that I couldn't control someone else's behavior, but I could control how I responded to it. I took time to reflect on what I wanted in a relationship moving forward. And as painful as it was, the betrayal had shown me the importance of trust, honesty, and mutual respect. I knew that I deserved someone who would be open with me, someone who would never lie or deceive me, and I made a promise to myself that I would never settle for anything less. Despite all the emotional growth I had experienced, there were still moments when doubt crept in. I couldn't help but wonder if I would ever be able to trust someone again. Would I ever be able to open my heart to someone without fear of being hurt? It was hard to imagine trusting another person completely after what Derek had done. But with time, I realized that healing wasn't a destination, it was a journey. I didn't need to have all the answers right away. I didn't need to force myself to be okay. I simply had to keep moving forward, trusting that in time the right person would come into my life, someone who would appreciate me for all that I am. One day, a few months later, I ran into Derek at a coffee shop. It was unexpected, and I froze when I saw him standing there ordering a drink. I hadn't seen him since we'd had our final conversation, and I had worked so hard to move on from him. But there he was, standing right in front of me. For a moment, I considered walking out. I wasn't sure I was ready to face him, to see him after everything that had happened. But then, something inside me clicked. I didn't need to run anymore. I wasn't afraid of him or his presence. I had already moved on, and I realized that this encounter didn't define me. It was just a part of my journey. I walked up to him, my heart steady, my mind calm. "Hi, Derek," I said, my voice surprisingly even. "How have you been?" He looked at me, and I could see the guilt in his eyes. "Grace, I didn't expect to see you. I've been thinking about you a lot, and I just wanted to say again how sorry I am for everything." I nodded, feeling no bitterness, just a sense of finality. "I appreciate your apology, Derek, but I've moved on. I'm in a better place now. I'm doing well, and I'm proud of where I am. I wish you the best, but I don't need anything from you anymore." He seemed taken aback, like he wasn't sure how to respond. But I knew that this moment, this conversation, was important. It wasn't about forgiveness for him. It was about reclaiming my own peace. I wasn't angry. I wasn't broken. I was whole again, and I was ready to continue my journey without him. With a small smile, I turned and walked away from him, knowing that I had finally let go of the past. I had learned that true strength came from within, from choosing to heal and grow despite the hurt. I had learned to trust myself, to be my own source of happiness, and to never settle for anything less than I deserved. As I walked away, I felt a deep sense of peace. I didn't need closure from Derek or anyone else. I had already given myself the closure I needed, and with that, I knew that I was ready to embrace whatever came next, knowing that my worth was no longer tied to anyone's actions but my own. After everything had settled and I had given myself time to heal, I felt a shift inside me. I had spent so much time dwelling on the hurt that Derek caused, but now I was ready to embrace the future. The past would always be a part of my story, but it no longer defined me. I had grown stronger, wiser, and more aware of my own needs and desires. I decided to take the lessons I had learned from this experience and apply them to every area of my life. The most significant lesson? The importance of self-worth and not allowing anyone to diminish it. Derek had taught me the painful reality that love isn't enough to make a relationship work. Respect, trust, and honesty are the foundations that can withstand anything. I had learned that I needed to trust myself, to have confidence in my own decisions, and to never settle for less than I deserved. It was time to stop looking back at what I had lost and start focusing on what was yet to come. I began to set new goals for myself, both personal and professional. I pushed myself to grow in ways I hadn't before. I took on new challenges, went after opportunities that terrified me, and slowly but surely, I started living my life fully again. I was no longer afraid of the future because I knew I had the strength to face it head on. I also realized that I didn't need anyone to complete me. I was whole on my own. I had always believed that I needed a partner to make me feel fulfilled, but now I understood that true fulfillment comes from within. It comes from being comfortable with who you are, from embracing your individuality, and from creating a life that makes you happy. As the months went on, I began to rebuild my relationships with family and friends, people who had always been there for me. I had neglected them while I was caught up in the toxic relationship with Derek, but now I was reconnecting with them in meaningful ways. I learned how important it is to surround yourself with people who lift you up and support your growth. They reminded me of the love I had in my life all along, the love of people who truly cared for me. Eventually, I reached a place where I could look back at my relationship with Derek without feeling the sting of betrayal. I could remember the good moments, the times when we laughed and connected, but I had come to terms with the fact that those moments weren't enough to justify the hurt I had endured. I had forgiven him, not because he asked for it, but because I needed to free myself from the anger and resentment that had been holding me captive. I realized that forgiveness wasn't about excusing someone's behavior. It was about freeing yourself from the burden of carrying that pain. But that didn't mean I was going to let someone back into my life who didn't deserve my trust. I had learned to protect my heart and not let anyone take it for granted. I knew now that it was okay to be selective about the people I allowed into my life. I didn't have to give anyone the benefit of the doubt if they hadn't earned it. As I moved forward, I started meeting new people, but I wasn't rushing into anything. I knew that I had to be patient and take my time. I wasn't looking for a quick fix or a rebound. I was looking for someone who valued me the way I deserved to be valued. And I knew that when the right person came along, they would respect me, my boundaries, and my trust. One day, I realized that I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was thriving. I had come out of the darkness stronger, more self aware, and ready to embrace the future. My heart wasn't guarded. It was open, but it was also wise. I had learned the value of self love, and because of that, I knew that whatever came next, I would handle it with grace and strength. I had walked away from Derek, and though it was hard at first, it was the best decision I ever made. I wasn't angry at him anymore. I wasn't sad. I was at peace. I had found myself again, and that was something no one could take away from me. I didn't need a man to define who I was. I didn't need validation from anyone other than myself. I was enough. And I would continue moving forward, living my life on my terms, knowing that I deserved happiness and fulfillment no matter what. True strength comes from within. Betrayal may hurt, but it also offers the opportunity to grow, learn, and rebuild yourself. Never settle for less than you deserve, and always trust yourself to make the right decisions for your happiness. Have you ever experienced betrayal in a relationship? How did you find the strength to move on? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more empowering stories and real life lessons.